How's it, everybody? This is Gordon from Keto Model Works, and today we drop some silver paint. We play with a spotlight. We play with some super glue, needles, and some fug aerials. So why did I get so excited about taking a Uhu out of a box? Well, this is the first time that I saw the kit after I moved from Houston to Austin, and guess what? The only part that broke off was an undercarriage door. Not even the fug aerials broke off, and I was happy. So the first thing that I wanted to do on this kit was to highlight the gun sights that I had bought from Quick Boost, and I was going to use the dry brushing method for that. I use a relatively soft paintbrush with some silver paint in this case, and as the technique says, dry brush. So you're trying to remove as much paint from the brush as possible, leaving a tiny amount of paint on the brush. And then you lightly cover whatever object you're trying to highlight the details on with the brush. So the idea is to only hit the high parts on whatever part you're trying to detail, and this can only be accomplished by lightly dry brushing any part that you want to highlight anything on. Hopefully that makes sense, but I mean, if you go and blow it up with a whole ton of silver paint, then yeah, it's not gonna look highlighted at all. And there you go. That is the end result of some dry brushing. Who said old school methods isn't cool? That's awesome. Looks great, works wonderful, and you don't always have to use silver paint. I've learned to use all kinds of tones of gray, and these days I prefer to do it with some oil paint. Next up was the gun sight glass, and I cut that from a clear piece of squadron plastic sheet. While checking my references, I saw that there was some kind of a device on the nose or inside the cockpit nose area of the aircraft, and I decided to recreate that. I guess it's probably some kind of a heating system or air conditioning or something like that to defrost the window, but I'm not sure. All I know is I saw that in the references that I was looking at. And I decided to recreate this with 0.3 millimeter lead wire and a tiny piece of stretched sprue. Of course, I had to check to make sure that the canopy windscreen doesn't interfere with my newly attached piping or heating system. And yeah, as I thought, it was in the way. So after some adjusting on the right side, I continued onto the left side, and I'm just using plain old super glue and some super glue kicker. Yeah, now that I'm looking at it, I remember there's this little story I wanted to tell you guys about that cockpit. Now that it's masked up there, once I removed all that masking, the total cockpit was one big mess. Somehow some clear coat or thinners or something had gotten into the cockpit tub, and it was all frosted over with white stuff. Yeah, I think I left that kit for a month after that. And then once I had my mojo back, I cleaned it all up with some alcohol and repainted about 70% of the cockpit. Here I'm just masking up the nose area to quickly spray my installed little system. Okay, let's move on to one of my favorite things, weathering. Yay! As all of you can see, the aircraft, or I don't know why I'm saying aircraft. Well, a Uhu is an aircraft. So anyway, the Uhu here has already been weathered with several other methods, but yeah, this one I really like, and most people know how to do this, but I thought I'll just throw this into the video. And this is essentially oil paint rendering, and I'm using some Abteilung oil paint that was sitting on a piece of cardboard for a couple of hours to strain out all the oil, just to recreate the kind of brownish, rusty, sooty color that was under the wings on this aircraft that came out of the exhausts. What the hell, what a description that was. I'm pretty sure someone that actually speaks English as a first language would be able to break that all down in substantially shorter sentences. All English language jokes aside, after you've applied, or after I have applied small little areas with the oil paint, I essentially just go over it with a very soft brush just to fade in, or to... What the fuck is the reference? To fade in. Is it fade in? To blend in. There you go. To blend in the oil paint. Yeah, we eventually got there. Tonight, English is not my strong point. So to the top of the wing, the Uhu had small little heat vents that came out the top, and I used the same oil rendering method to recreate some streaks on the top of the wing. Next on the agenda was to just highlight some areas on the ejection seats, usually some high ridges, to essentially create fake highlights on the ejection seat. Yeah, I'm using Vallejo's water-based paint for the first time to accomplish the highlights on the ejection seat. This is one of those details that you will spend lots of time on and that most people will probably never see or pay attention to. Seeing that after the mess up with the cockpit, I was going to close the cockpit up. And anyway, so the gun sight and the windscreen went on with not too much fuss after the bulletproof window was installed in the cockpit tub. Moving on to the FUG aerial installation, I've got a little story to tell. Personally, I would not do it the way that you are seeing me doing it in this video. I would much rather actually fit the depot aerials first onto the masts and then just install the masts onto the little mast extensions, if that's what you want to call them, on the Uhu kit. Personally, I just think the way that I'm doing it here is completely stupid. And there's a much easier way of doing it. I don't know why I was being so dumb to do it this way. Either way, the Eduard Brassen set is incredible and incredibly detailed and very, very fine in detail. Highly recommended little add-on. And there you have it. We have come to the end of this build eventually. I know it took very long. There was some unforeseen personal tragedies that happened. And yeah, at the end of the day, pushed through and completed this beautiful kit. Although it's an old Tamiya kit by now, still highly recommended. Had a good time building this kit. I have 2 others that I eventually built, maybe one day. But yeah, once again, highly recommended, even for its age. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to my crazy channel. And hopefully I'll see you guys soon. Julle moet lekker wees.